Have you ever felt like you are trapped in an invisible maze, running endlessly but never actually getting anywhere? We wake up, answer countless emails, chase impossible deadlines, and follow strict rules that rarely seem to make any logical sense. This overwhelming feeling of being a helpless cog in a massive, confusing machine is something we all experience today. But long before the internet or modern corporate culture existed, one brilliant writer perfectly predicted this exact type of psychological nightmare. Welcome to the deeply absurd, terrifyingly relatable world of Franz Kafka, where the systems designed to organize our lives are actually driving us insane. So, who exactly was Franz Kafka, and why does his name describe our modern anxiety so perfectly? Born in Prague in the late 19th century, Kafka was a brilliant but deeply tormented insurance clerk who absolutely hated his soul-crushing day job. He wrote dark, surreal stories at night about ordinary people waking up trapped in bizarre, inescapable bureaucratic nightmares. He died practically unknown, even asking his best friend to burn all his unpublished manuscripts because he felt like a massive failure. Fortunately, his friend refused, and the world soon realized that Kafka wasn't just writing strange fiction, he was writing a terrifying prophecy about the modern world. His most famous story, The Metamorphosis, begins with a hard-working salesman waking up to discover he has transformed into a giant, useless insect. The most shocking part isn't the transformation itself, but the fact that his only real concern is how he is going to make it to work on time. Today, this story perfectly captures the modern dread of sudden layoffs or the looming threat of artificial intelligence taking our jobs. We tie so much of our human worth to our economic productivity that the moment we can no longer produce, we feel like repulsive burdens. Kafka forces us to ask a brutal question. Who exactly are you when the system suddenly decides it no longer needs you? In another famous novel, The Trial, a man is suddenly arrested, but no one will ever tell him what crime he actually committed. He spends his life desperately trying to prove his innocence to a faceless, unseen authority that refuses to communicate with him properly. This is the exact psychological state we live in today when we try to appease unseen social media algorithms or automated corporate hiring systems. We constantly adjust our behavior, begging for validation and visibility from cold lines of code that do not care about us at all. We are all standing trial in the court of public opinion, terrified of being canceled or shadow banned for a rule we didn't even know existed. We have built a society obsessed with extreme optimization, yet we somehow end up with more administrative busywork than ever before. Kafka perfectly illustrated the horror of modern bureaucracy, where you have to fill out 5 different forms just to get a basic, simple answer. Think about how much of your day is wasted on endless meetings that could have been an email or navigating automated customer service bots. We are trapped in an endless loop of performing tasks that exist only to justify the existence of other completely pointless tasks. It is an exhausting, infinite to-do list that slowly drains your life force while falsely convincing you that you are being productive. This constant navigation of illogical systems breeds a very specific type of modern psychological torture: severe imposter syndrome. Much like Kafka's protagonists, we walk around with this heavy, unexplained guilt, constantly feeling like we are doing something incredibly wrong. You get a sudden message from your boss saying, "We need to talk," and your brain immediately assumes you are about to be fired. We are socially conditioned to feel perpetually inadequate, forever convinced that we are just one small mistake away from total financial ruin. Kafka understood that the ultimate power of any system is making you police yourself through constant, low-level anxiety. The cruelest joke of this modern setup is the grand illusion of upward mobility and meaningful, linear progress. We are aggressively told that if we just hustle harder, optimize our morning routines, and sacrifice our sleep, we will eventually reach a state of peace. But just like a hamster on a wheel, running faster does not actually change your location. It merely exhausts you a lot quicker. The corporate ladder is often just an infinite staircase that goes nowhere, designed to keep you climbing until you simply burn out. We constantly mistake motion for actual momentum, sacrificing our precious youth to a machine that will replace us in a heartbeat. Despite having access to instant global communication, we are living through an era of profound, unprecedented human alienation. Kafka frequently wrote about characters who were surrounded by people yet felt entirely invisible and fundamentally misunderstood by everyone. Today, we sit in crowded coffee shops or open-plan offices, staring at glowing rectangles, feeling more isolated than ever before in history. We curate these perfect digital lives for hundreds of online acquaintances, yet we lack someone to call when we are having a genuine panic attack. We have successfully engineered a society where we are hyper-connected to the network, but completely disconnected from each other's humanity.
This brings us to the endless pursuit of success, perfectly mirrored in Kafka's novel The Castle, where a man desperately tries to enter a fortress. Every time he thinks he has finally figured out the rules to get inside, the bureaucrats change the requirements and push him further away. This is exactly how modern success feels. The moment you hit a financial milestone or get a promotion, the goalpost immediately moves. You are promised that true happiness is just one more achievement away, but the castle doors remain permanently locked. It is a rigged game designed to keep you forever hungry and perpetually dissatisfied with what you already have. So, how do we survive a world that feels so deeply Kafkaesque without completely losing our minds and giving up? The first and most crucial step is to stop desperately searching for rational logic in a world that is inherently chaotic and absurd. When you expect a broken, bureaucratic system to make perfect sense, you only guarantee your own frustration and heartbreak. By accepting that the matrix we live in is often deeply flawed and ridiculous, you free yourself from the burden of trying to fix it. You stop blaming yourself for failing at a game where the rules were actively rigged against you from the very beginning. Once you see the absurdity for what it is, you can start reclaiming your power through the quiet, radical act of saying no. You do not have to violently overthrow the system. You just have to stop treating its arbitrary rules as sacred religious texts. This means closing your laptop at 5 o'clock, refusing to check emails on the weekend, and aggressively rejecting the toxic glorification of burnout. It is about drawing a hard, unapologetic line between your economic function and your actual, irreplaceable human soul. The system only maintains its crushing power over you when you voluntarily give it permission to consume your entire identity. Surprisingly, one of the best weapons against Kafkaesque nightmares is the ability to develop a dark, resilient sense of humor. When Kafka read his terrifying stories aloud to his friends, they didn't cry. They actually laughed uncontrollably at the sheer ridiculousness of it all. When you are stuck in an endless customer service loop or a meaningless corporate meeting, sometimes you just have to laugh at the madness. Humor acts as a powerful psychological shield, proving that while the system might waste your time, it absolutely cannot conquer your spirit. If you can laugh at the absurdity of the matrix, it immediately loses its terrifying, paralyzing grip on your emotions. Furthermore, the ultimate rebellion against a faceless, algorithmic world is fiercely prioritizing deep, authentic human connection. The systems we interact with want us isolated, competitive, and constantly viewing other people as either obstacles or stepping stones. You disrupt this cold logic by choosing empathy, checking in on your exhausted coworkers, and building communities that have nothing to do with networking. It is in the quiet moments of shared vulnerability with a true friend that the cold, bureaucratic world completely melts away. Your relationships are the only true sanctuary you have against a society that views you entirely as a disposable data point. Ultimately, you have to undertake the massive psychological project of redefining your worth entirely outside of the system's metrics. Your value as a human being is not determined by your productivity, your job title, or how many followers approve of your lifestyle.
You must cultivate hobbies, passions, and quiet moments that produce absolutely no economic value whatsoever, just for the pure joy of existing. When you realize that you are inherently valuable just for being alive, the threat of waking up as a useless bug completely vanishes. You step off the exhausting treadmill and finally give yourself the unconditional approval you have been desperately seeking from society.
Franz Kafka didn't write his stories to plunge us into despair. He wrote them to wake us up to the invisible cages we build around ourselves. We may not be able to dismantle the massive corporate and algorithmic bureaucracies that govern the modern world anytime soon. However, we have the absolute freedom to decide exactly how much of our soul we are willing to sacrifice to them. You can navigate the absurd maze without letting it define you. Write your own rules and fiercely protect your humanity. The world may be a Kafkaesque nightmare, but you do not have to be its victim. You can choose to be the glitch that beats the system.